Hello and welcome back to Trend Watch 777. I was scrolling through YouTube and I came across this video and I thought it was pretty interesting. Um, a topic to cover, and the video is by the Defiant Lawyers Network. And so I'm gonna go over here and we're going to get into this video. This is about Trump's resegregation and the whitening of America. No blacks allowed. So he started off by promoting his book. Now I haven't purchased this book, but it looks like an interesting read. I put it in my Amazon cart so that I can purchase it later. So again, shout out to the Defiant Lawyers Network.
Immediately. So the question that I'm going to answer in this video is whether or not Trump is resegregating America. With his executive orders, is he bringing back segregation?
And I think it's pretty obvious what Trump is doing and where he stands as far as Black America is concerned. I'm not going to interrupt too much on this video because it's very interesting to listen to.
That awful aspect of Jim Crow. Is he taking us back to that? Now, I've seen people try to answer this question, and they just are not able to do an adequate job, in my opinion, because this is my space. I am a civil rights attorney. I litigate civil rights cases. And so they don't know how to bring the nuance because this is not what they do. It would be like asking.
Right. It's not what they do because his job is specifically being a civil rights attorney. So I am sure that he is well schooled in the civil rights laws and bylaws and nuances. So, yeah.
Me about a heart attack or how to take an engine from an automobile. I just don't know. I can give you some general information, but that's not my cup of tea. So you have been seeing all over social media and main media that Trump's executive orders have resulted in resegregation. Well, is that true? And if so, what's the impact of it? That's what I want to get into in this video. All right, so let's pull up a particular letter that has been circulated about this particular question. And the letter kind of lays out or sets the context for what I want to explain. We see that the letter is actually from the GSA, that is the U.S. General Services Administration. So it's an administrative office, and it is coming from the director, William Clark. We see his digital signature there. And the subject line says CAAC consultation to issue a class.
Right. And this letter was drafted in February of 2025.
Class deviation from the federal acquisition regulation regarding executive orders 14173 and 14168. All right, now let's read the highlighted portions of the letter. Executive Order 14173, ending illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunity, revoked. Executive Order 11246, equal employment opportunity. Now let me explain what that's saying. So Trump issued on January 21st, 2025, one day after his inauguration, he issued Executive Order 14173, which basically ended DEI and DEIA.
I'm just going to have to interrupt because Trump, I don't think he's like going back to Project 2025. This is not uh, Trump. I don't believe he have the insight to go this deep into the executive orders 14173. No, he had to have some help. So this isn't Trump alone because he didn't do all this in his first term. In his first term, in his second term, all of a sudden he have all these inside knowledge of things like this, and he did this. What would he say? The first day after his inauguration or something like that? Come on, this was already planned out.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion, and diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. He ended it. But not only did he end that, he also revoked an executive order issued by Lyndon Johnson in 1965. Now, I've actually done a video on this already, but this issue of whether Trump has resegregated America has come up, so I'm, having to do this as well to explain, again, the nuances. So the executive order that President Lyndon Johnson issued, 11246, equal employment opportunity, he issued that so that the 1964 Civil Rights Act would be extended to the federal government in terms of contracting. Okay? So he extended it to cover contracting. So the letter goes on to say several FAR. That stands for Federal Acquisition Regulations. Federal Acquisition Regulations or regulation. Several FAR provisions promulgated to enforce EO 11246 are not consistent with the direction of the president, see FAR subpart 22.8, and associated provisions and clauses as prescribed at FAR 22.810. Now, what is all that saying? That is saying that federal regulations were promulgated once Lyndon Johnson issued his executive order 11246. In order to enforce it, federal regulations had to be promulgated. And those federal regulations, again, are abbreviated as FAR, Federal Acquisition Regulations, and then it will have the section. Okay? Now, several of those federal acquisition regulations, the Trump administration is saying, are inconsistent with his executive order 14173.
Okay.
And one of those FARs prohibits segregated facilities. Now, let me explain what all that means. So when someone acquires a federal contract to provide some service or some product, included in that contract is an FAR. In fact, specifically, it is FAR 52.222.21. And it prohibits segregated facilities, such as bathrooms, cafeterias, and so on. So a corporation or some other entity that gets a contract from the federal government, one that involves equal employment opportunities, there must be the inclusion of FAR 52.222.21, which prohibits segregated facilities. Now, Trump's executive order got rid of the requirement that that particular FAR is included in the contract, which basically...
Right. So I'm just assuming, based off what he said, if I'm following along. I'm sorry, for interrupting, but I'm assuming that now, since Trump got rid of that FAR, then facilities can, in fact, um, segregate people. They can separate, like they did back in slavery, white fountain, black fountain. That's what I'm assuming that can happen now that Trump has eliminated that law.
means as far as the contract is concerned, that entity can segregate people on the basis of race, on the basis of sex, on the basis of color, on the basis of national origin, on the basis of religion, on the basis of gender, sexual orientation, or gender identity. All of those are prohibited reasons for segregating any of their facilities. Trump got rid of that. So in essence, these entities can once again segregate people on those bases. Now, let's go back and read, because there's some very important provisions here in this letter. Let's jump down to the other highlighted area, and it says, contractors are still covered by existing United States laws on civil rights / non-discrimination. These laws apply whether or not the company is a government contractor.
What that mean?
So, this letter says, even though FAR 52.222.21, which prohibits segregated facilities, the entity that gets the contract still is governed and or prohibited by other civil rights laws from implementing racial or gender or religious or sex-based segregation.
Okay, I follow.
Okay, hope you follow me on that.
Yeah, I follow.
So Trump's executive order got rid of a federal regulation that prohibits segregated facilities. But the letter says that person or that entity is still prohibited from creating segregated facilities because of other civil rights laws.
Got it. So in order for them, Trump is going to have to abolish those other civil rights laws. I'm assuming that's what he needs to do.
So MAGA would say that we're making a big deal out of nothing, because although Trump's executive order got rid of the prohibition against segregated facilities, there are other laws that still prohibit it. And here is where the nuance starts.
Okay.
And let me explain it to you. So first of all, having that federal regulation prohibiting segregated facilities is just another layer of protection. And more importantly, it is in the contract. It is literally a part of the contract. It is language that must be included in the contract. Which brings me to my second point, which is, because it's in the contract, if a federal contractor, an entity who has a federal contract, violates that section and creates a segregated facility, then the federal government can immediately revoke that contract, which serves as a deterrent, right? Because that federal contractor knows that they can lose this lucrative federal contract immediately if the federal government can prove they violated some section of the contract. So it is a deterrent to creating segregated facilities. Now, although there are still other laws, if the contract doesn't include that particular registration, the only recourse for the victim is to bring a lawsuit pursuant to maybe Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of '64 or some other federal law. But what's the problem with bringing the lawsuit? Well, there can be two. One, they cost money to litigate. And two, it takes time to litigate them. So quite often, someone who has been victimized by a segregated facility may decide, I'm not going to bring a lawsuit because I can't afford it. And by the time the courts hear my complaint and reach a decision, we do discovery and we do all the things that we do, us lawyers in litigation, it won't even matter. So that is not a deterrent to federal contractors because they know quite often a victim will not bring a lawsuit because they can't afford it or don't have time. Whereas if that federal regulation is actually in the contract, then the contract can be immediately revoked based upon, of course, creditable, strong evidence. And because it can be immediately revoked, then that's going to be a deterrent from federal contractors creating segregated facilities.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You follow me?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
So again, yes, Trump's executive order will have the effect or can have the effect of resegregating America. And I've given you several reasons why, because despite the fact that there are still civil rights laws that prohibit segregation on the basis of race and et cetera, still having that prohibition, that regulation in the contract is even more effective at policing that sort of thing. So it is not hyperbole to say that Trump's executive order is definitely bringing about or can bring about resegregation. So, as I said here in my lower third, in Trump's America, no Negroes are allowed. And that's not far-fetched, right? Because they just recently removed names of blacks from the Arlington National Cemetery.
Wow.
They are getting rid of blacks in other places like the military. So it is not hyperbole. It is not clickbait, none of that clout chasing to say that Trump is in fact resegregating America. It's literally happening. All right, so I wanted to bring that perspective to you because, again, I understand not just what you see, but what you have to read between the lines if you litigate these cases. All right, so thank you for watching this video. I am Reverend and Civil Rights Attorney Augustus Corbett. And as always, stay woke.
Yeah. Hey, y'all, stay woke. I enjoyed that conversation. Oh, my God, that was nice. So I'm going to put the link because I know some of you will probably have to go back and rewatch what he said to grasp what he said. You really have to be listening to him, and that's why I didn't want to interrupt as much. So again, shout out to the Defiant Lawyers Network and Corbett. I think his last name was Corbett. I can't see his name is covered up here, but I enjoyed that. And like I said, I will put the link in the description in order. So I believe this is just step one. All right. So he some of the four he got rid of, but like he said that there's still some laws in effect that prohibit total segregation like that. And so the next step, maybe he's taking the steps like one at a time. He's going to eliminate those laws because, like he's saying, he's eliminating the black names from the society. These men has fought in the war, passed away in the grave, don't even know who Trump is, and he's eliminating their names all because they're black. So now, with that said, I am going to go over here up to an update what Trump recently is doing. He recently signed a directive that leads to the removal of slavery displays at Philadelphia's President's House. Before I go on to that, I did want to read over some of the comments in from the Defiant Lawyers Network video. One comment is segregate the billions that we spend with other people and spend it among ourselves. And then y'all forgot he rented to everyone but blacks. Yeah, remember that. And they took him to court over that. Him and his dad had sued him, and excuse me, and he lost. That's why he's getting revenge by dismantling, trying to dismantle them. Trump is all for himself, but one day he will meet God, and that will, what will he say then? God has a color, so that is why he don't like us. I be glad when God come to clean up this mess. Yeah, he got to clean up the whole world, not just Trump. Okay. And then another comment, a commenter wrote, I don't care. I want to separate from them 100 times more than they do. America is deeply segregated. Yes, America is. Yeah, yeah. Okay, housing segregation had always been in play. Plenty of new homes being built in large subdivisions in my town, but the majority of black people can't afford them. That's like when they building new apartments building here around in my area, and they're like high rent apartment buildings in this area. So I can see they want to push people that can't afford to pay the rent. They want to push them out and move the people that can afford the rent in. Yeah, they want them in. Okay, so that is just some of the comments on that video. Now go back over here to where I was, where he signed a directive to remove the slavery displays at the Philadelphia uh, president's house. And this is January. Who's this? Shout out Ebony. And this is dated, this article is dated January the 23rd of 2026. And so I'm just going to read maybe one paragraph here, the first one here. Several signs depicting images of slavery were removed from the president's house in Old City, Philadelphia, a historic site operated by the National Park Service located on 6th and Market Street. And the president's house was once the home of Presidents George Washington and John Adams before the construction of the White House was completed. The exhibit itself included depictions of 9 enslaved African descendants who were owned by President Washington himself. So now we read that video. Now I have 2 short videos about the exhibits being removed. And I think the city of Philadelphia is taking Trump to court over the removal of these artifacts. So here's the first video, and shout out to the New York Times for this video here.
Oh, because it says slavery. Okay. Taking it down doesn't erase it.
Okay, I'm going to stop it here. Now, this may be too small for y'all to read, but it says the order specifically flagged Independence National Historical Park, the exhibit's home of promoting corrosive ideology. Okay, now this says Donald Trump will take any opportunity to rewrite and whitewash our history. This is what Governor Josh Shapiro wrote. But he picked the wrong city, and he sure as hell picked the wrong Commonwealth. We live from our history in Pennsylvania, even when it's painful. Okay, here the city of Philadelphia sued the Trump administration in an attempt to have the signs put back. Okay, yeah, shout out to the New York Times. Shout out to the New York Times for that. And let's see what some of the comments said. Removing signs about history does not erase what happened. No, it doesn't. But it also prohibits the younger generation from knowing the history unless they're taught in home, because they're sure not going to teach them in any school. You can erase monuments, but you can't erase history. Okay, what's what? Slavery? Who did that? Apparently, all this administration want is to say is not it. Okay. And then it says, my ancestors are from Charleston, South Carolina, by way of West Africa. We are the original foundational Africans brought to America to a place called James Island. Okay. Sorry, y'all. To a place called James Island. We've been in America since the French and the Spanish controlled the territory in 1706, mostly for the cultivation of rice. I carry the blood of Native American as well as African American. You people can erase the words from your walls, but you'll never know what it truly means to be an American. But God will remember. Oh yeah, God. Oh yeah, definitely gonna be judged for everything you do down here on this earth. God sees everything. Okay, erasing history so it repeats. And here we go. Just stupid waste of money, and in no respective order. Okay. All right. So someone go hang a sign titled 4D poster in its place, financial slavery. Okay. All right. So those are just some of the comments under that video. Again, shout out to the New York Times. And my other video over here is about the same thing. And this is from the Philadelphia Inquirer. And these are the slavery exhibits Trump removed from Philadelphia. And up here, right here, it says these are the slavery exhibits Trump removed from Philadelphia's Independence Park.
The National Park Service has dismantled exhibits about slavery at the President's House in Independence National Historical Park. They had served as a memorial to the 9 people George Washington enslaved there during the founding of the United States. And they were taken down following orders by President Donald Trump to review and remove displays at...
Hold on, y'all, 1 minute. To turn my mic off and back on for a minute because I think it's skipping.
At national parks that, quote, inappropriately disparage the U.S. None of the exhibits contain facts that are in dispute. Rather, they appear to have been removed because the true histories they tell could be interpreted as reflecting negatively on past Americans.
Oh my God.
Among the exhibits, this illustration of Washington signing the Fugitive Slave Act. The drawing's depiction of brutality against enslaved people could be interpreted by the Trump administration as reflecting negatively on 18th century Americans who participated in slavery. This panel, The Dirty Business of Slavery, contains language describing historic facts deemed inappropriate for public consumption. Another panel taken down describes life under slavery, documenting the treatment of enslaved individuals at the hands of slaveholders. 13 items were initially flagged for review after Trump's executive order in March 2025, but on Thursday, everything was removed. In response, Mayor Sherrell Parker's administration has filed a lawsuit. The complaint asks a judge to order the removal an arbitrary and capricious act, making it unlawful. On Friday, Parker emphasized the city and the federal government signed a cooperative agreement in 2006.
That agreement requires parties to meet and confer if there are to be any changes made to an exhibit.
That's a shame. That's a shame. That's a shame. I mean, seeing things like this is really disheartening. It's really disheartening. I mean, that's the ugly side of America. That's the ugly side of history. I mean, that's just something Trump just seemed that he just can't grasp. Oh my God. That's disheartening. It just makes me want to do something and say something. You know, I'm serious. It's ooh, ooh. All right, so I'm gonna end the video here. All right, I'll see y'all in my next video. Y'all be blessed.